Denudation chronology is a very important topic of geomorphology. Chronology stands for study of landforms and geology in time perspective. Virtually, geography is a chronological science related with space. It is spatial science, and in geography we study the distribution of various things from equator to pole. Geography is spatial or chronological science. Now, chronology is coming in the field of geography. It means time perspective. If we see present, then present is key to the past and present tells about the past. For example, if we study Himalayas, it has its history. It tells that at the place of present Himalayas, there was Tethys geosyncline and a number of climatic processes and geomorphological and tectonic events brought about change here, and today Himalayas is standing. Thus, chronology is very important science as history is important for us. So, chronology is important in geography, geology and geomorphology. There are two terms, denudation, chronology. Denudation, meaning of denudation is clear to you. Suppose there is some material and you can cover it with some cloth. Suppose it is rasgulla or jalebi. You cover it with a cloth just to save it. And this is called covering. But when you want to take it, you uncover it, and the uncovering is called denudation. Suppose there is one rock, and this rock has top layer consisting of different elements consisting of sand, silt, clay, and it is very hard. First, this rock will be weathered by the exogenic forces. Weathering is process that occurs in situ. Then the weathered material will be transported by different processes, especially 6 processes: fluvial, aeolian, marine, karst, glacial and periglacial. This collectively is called denudation. Now you are aware of the meaning of two words, denudation and chronology. First, let us begin with denudation. What is denudation? Denudation consists of weathering plus erosion, and you have studied weathering and erosion in detail. Now, let us discuss weathering. Weathering is the disintegration and decomposition of rocks in situ. It is done by 3 methods. Number 1, mechanical or physical weathering. 2, chemical weathering. 3, biological weathering. Then this weathered material on the surface of the earth waits for eroding forces, and erosion is virtually transportation of weathered material from one place to other. And as we have just discussed that there are 6 eroding forces or processes. Number 1 fluvial, second aeolian, third karst, then marine, then glacial, then periglacial. These have been studied in detail in geomorphic process and development of landform. Now it is chronology, the second term, chronology. And as we have discussed that chronology is the study in historical or time perspective. Study in time perspective from Cambrian to Holocene period. As Earth's surface cooled down, rocks formed, the weathering and erosion process started, and this is traced from Cambrian period to present geological period, Holocene. In India also, the chronological study reveals that here the rocks range from Archean period to Pleistocene and even Holocene. It is Holocene period rock formation is continuing. For example, the rivers originating from Himalayas, Rockies, Andes erode the surface and deposit soft sediment consisting of alluvium or clay deposit in delta, and these are newer alluvium and rocks. And what is the aim of study of denudation chronology? Its aim is to study geological history, and geological history is as important for geomorphologists and geologists as history of man for him or history of society. And this also helps us study paleoclimate. Paleoclimate means climatic conditions of the past. For example, if we see that periglacial landform karst is found in MP, India, it has two explanations. Number one, that in India, MP, there was periglacial process, but it is not possible because India lies in tropical and subtropical zone. The second option is that India was in the periglacial process region and landform karst was developed there, and India, due to tectonic forces, moved north. So, second option is well explained by geologists, geomorphologists, and paleoclimatologists. So, the aim of study of denudation chronology is also to study paleoclimate. Next is paleobotany. Paleobotany is also studied by the denudation chronology. For example, in MP, India, there is Ojha Fossil National Park, and this reveals that this is National Park of fossils. Natural fossils are found there, and those fossils reveal that equatorial evergreen forest was found there, remnants of which are in the form of fossil. It shows that either equatorial climate was there in MP. Second option is that MP was in equatorial region. So second option is correct, and from equatorial climatic conditions this received some botanical fossils, but now India has moved north, and India is continuously moving northward. One day India may complete its journey from South Pole to North Pole. Thus, the imprints of all the climatic conditions will be traced in future over India and the rocks of India. Now, after knowing the definition of denudation and chronology and its aim, let us come to factors controlling the chronology. Which are the factors control chronology? Factor number one is change in climatic regime. At world scale, climatic classification by Köppen, Thorndike, and this is spatial study or spatial variation in climatic regime. But if we go into its historical or chronological perspective, we can see that in past there had been climatic change. For example, global warming and global cooling. Twice global cooling has taken place. Number one, Carboniferous glaciation, and number two, Pleistocene glaciation. During glaciation phases, the ice from polar region moved towards the equatorial or low latitude areas. The imprints are the works of which are being traceable in the form of erosional and depositional landform by glacial and periglacial process. Thus, in United States of America, there are the remnants of periglacial and glacial deposits. So, this means change in the climatic regime. Also, affects the denudation chronology. Second very important point is tectonic forces. If there is no climatic change, there is no glaciation or global warming, and climate is stable, plate tectonic operates, and due to tectonic forces, all the continents or the plates wander from pole to equator. As we have discussed, Indian plate was attached physically with African plate and it was on South Pole, but slowly and separated from African plate and slowly moving north and northeastward. And due to tectonic forces, a number of changes, geological and geomorphic changes take place, due to which the chronology is changing and we study it. For example, when India was on South Pole, it moved northward, and at the place of Himalayas there was Tethys geosyncline. Due to the pressure of Indian plate, out of Tethys geosyncline, folded mountain Himalayas emerge. This process is continuing. So this is tectonic force that reveals the geological history or helps us study denudation chronology. And next is methods of study. How we study denudation chronology. There are several criteria like erosional surfaces and different heights. This topic has been covered in erosional surfaces, and different heights have been measured. With the help, there were two tools or methods to study erosional surface. Number one was area height diagram and altimetric histogram, which we studied there based on a drainage basin. Second criteria was profile. On the basis of we reached the conclusion that there were a number of erosional surface, and on the basis of different heights we reached that conclusion. And from that video you can bring that related matter to this topic. And second point is uplifted peneplain and monad knocks. We also studied the rejuvenation and polycyclic landform, wherein the main geomorphic feature was uplifted peneplain. And when peneplain will be uplifted, erosional surfaces will be found. For example, in Chota Nagpur region, and monad knock, fossil monad knock in Appalachian region. And this was also exemplified with the three erosional surfaces in Appalachian region like Scully, Harrisburg and Somerville. Next point or method is Varba deposit in lakes. In inland lakes there is deposition of sediment, and if we take a cross section, or say if we dig the deposits, we will find different layers. One consisting of clay, second consisting of coarse sand, third consisting of gravels, pebbles and cobbles. And we reach the conclusion that these deposits were the result of climatic regime, or simply say rainfall. And we assume and assess that if the amount of rainfall was less, then clay material was being transported and deposited. If the second layer consists of coarse material, it means it requires large volume of water to transport it, and the layer of boulders reveals that the climatic regime was very strong, rainfall was heavy, and the water discharge was voluminous, which transported the coarse materials, and this was deposited in layer in the form of sediment. And this study is called the Varba study, and which helps us study denudation chronology, because this Varba deposit tells us the process of denudation which is being controlled by climatic factors, especially rainfall. Next is delta and coastal sedimentology. Rivers deposit sediment in delta, and if we study the cross section of sediments along delta, we reach the conclusion that there are different layers which reveal the climatic regime of that period and discharge of river and flow velocity and the rainfall amount, as we have done in Varva deposit. So, deltology or sedimentology also tells us the history of denudation chronology. For example, if you take Godavari and Krishna rivers, they first deposited the Archean sediment. Later on, the volcanic eruption took place there, and these rivers eroded lava material, and this lava material covered the previous Archean deposit. Later on, when Godavari reached its base, it became superimposed river. Then again the Archean deposits are found in its delta. This is called structural inversion by geologists. Next point is study of rock fossils and outcrops. There are rock fossils, and these rock fossils are found in all the structures. For example, Nape, for example, Monadnock, after erosion of a mountain. So, these rock fossils also reveal the previous history of that topography or landscape, because the rock fossils have fossils which are studied on the basis of the carbon dating, and its time is being calculated, and rock fossils or monadnocks are found at the last stage of cycle of erosion in peneplain, and this rock fossil reveals that where from fossils came and how they have been eroded. And likewise, there are outcrops. Outcrops are the land features of granitic deposits, volcanic deposits, when the overlying rock is being eroded away or denuded. Thus, this outcrop exposure also tells us the quantity and chronology of the denudation process. So, these are the 5 parameters or methods with which we reach the conclusion that there is a chronological denudation process. Now, let us to conclusion that how denudation chronology has been studied in India, and in especially Indian plateau. There are 3 erosional surfaces, and these 3 erosional surfaces tell us the chronological history of denudation over Indian plateau. This denudation chronology cannot be studied in Gangetic plain or either of the coastal plain, and this denudation chronology study in Himalayan region is too early, because Himalayan region is just in youthful stage. Denudation process are working, but they have no long history. But here in the peninsular region, there are 3 erosional surfaces, as we have discussed in the video erosional surface. There are 3 erosional surfaces. Number 1, 900 meter, 600 meter and 300 meter respectively from west to east, and these are from sea level. Thus, these 3 erosional surfaces reveal that Indian plateau has undergone a number of climogenic and tectogenic forces. That's why this plateau has a very long history. Likewise, in Appalachian region, denudation chronology has been studied by geomorphologists and geologists, and there are examples of uplifted plains like Scully, Harrisburg, Somerville, which are result of rejuvenation and which tell a long geological history are say denudation chronology. Now, which is the criteria to study denudation chronology? In criteria, as we have studied that there are a number of erosional surfaces devised by a number of process geomorphologists like glaciologist, periglaciologist, fluvial geomorphologist, aeolian geomorphologist, karst geomorphologist, etc. So, they have termed this erosion surface or peneplain different names. For example, this peneplain is the result of long denudation process and it tells the history of chronology or denudation chronology. Peneplain term devised by W.M. Davis. Likewise, Walter Penck introduced a term endrum, which is also the penultimate or last stage of a erosion cycle. Likewise, this is pond plane and H plane and pediplane and pond fan. These are also terms given by L.C. King, Crickmay and other geomorphologists in different regions. These are either developed by fluvial process or aeolian process or semi-arid process or in Samana region process. So this is about the denudation chronology, wherein first you will define what is denudation, then second you will define what is chronology, then its aim, then you will discuss the factors controlling this chronology. Mainly two factors, these need elaboration. And next method of study, there are 5 methods to identify the denudation chronology, and at last you will give examples and last criteria. So this is about the denudation chronology, and here in writing its answer you will correlate this with the erosional surfaces because some matter of erosional surface is related with it, and you will take that matter and write here for its elaboration.